3,000 years ago, the mightiest kingdoms on earth suddenly collapsed within decades, and to this day, no one fully knows why they fell. Picture a world of golden palaces, towering fortresses, and trade routes stretching from Egypt to Greece, all thriving in perfect harmony. Then within a single lifetime, that great world burned down. Cities were abandoned, writing itself disappeared. Kings vanished into legend. Historians call it the Bronze Age collapse, one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries, a disaster that quietly erased an entire civilization. Tonight, we travel back to the final days of that lost world to understand exactly how paradise slowly turned into ash and silence forever. Around 1200 BCE, the Eastern Mediterranean was a web of glittering superpowers, each one connected by ships, treaties, and royal marriages. Egypt ruled the Nile with pharaohs who commanded armies of thousands, their towering temples rising from the desert like mountains of pure gold. To the north, the Hittite Empire controlled Anatolia, its iron weapons and swift chariots making it one of the most feared powers on earth. Across the Aegean Sea, Mycenaean Greece flourished behind massive stone walls, its warrior kings later inspiring the legends of Homer himself. Merchant ships loaded with copper, tin, and precious glass sailed constantly between these kingdoms, weaving together a fragile web of prosperity. For centuries, palaces grew richer, cities grew larger, and every ruler believed their world of bronze and gold would simply last forever. But beneath that golden surface, quiet warnings were already spreading, though no king yet understood what they truly meant for their future. Ancient clay tablets speak of failed harvests, of grain shipments desperately requested, of ordinary people growing hungrier with every year. Scientists studying ancient pollen and lake sediment now believe a prolonged drought gripped the region, slowly choking farmland for generations. As crops failed, the great palace economies, built entirely on taxation and grain storage, began quietly starving slowly from the inside out. Trade routes that once carried tin and copper for bronze weapons started breaking down, cutting kingdoms off from the vital tools of survival. Whispers of unrest spread quickly through crowded cities, as hungry populations grew desperate and increasingly furious with their ruling elites. Then from the sea itself, a new terror arrived, one that ancient scribes could barely describe, only that it came without warning or mercy. Egyptian records call them the Sea Peoples, mysterious raiders sailing in fast ships, striking coastal cities and vanishing again before dawn. No one fully knows where they came from, whether displaced farmers, broken armies, or desperate refugees fleeing their own collapsing homelands. What is certain is the devastation they left behind, as city after city along the coastline was burned, plundered, and left silent in ruins. The mighty city of Ugarit, a thriving hub of trade and culture, sent a desperate final letter begging for ships that would never arrive in time. That letter was never answered. Archaeologists later found it still sealed in the ashes, a message frozen forever in a single moment of terror. Weakened by famine and already fractured by unrest, these once mighty kingdoms simply had no strength left to withstand the sudden onslaught. One by one, coastal cities that had stood proudly for centuries fell silent, their harbors empty, their streets abandoned to wind and dust. Inland, the mighty Hittite Empire, once feared across the ancient world, was collapsing under pressures no army could ever hope to fight off. Drought had crippled its farmland, rebellion simmered in its provinces, and its once loyal vassal states slowly began turning against the crown. The capital city of Hattusa, home to grand temples and royal archives, was abandoned and burned, its ruins left to the silent mercy of time. Its final king simply vanishes from the historical record, leaving behind only silence where 1,000 years of power once stood so proud. Within a single generation, an empire that had rivaled Egypt itself was gone completely, its language forgotten for nearly 3,000 years. Only broken stone and buried clay tablets remained, waiting silently underground until modern archaeologists finally uncovered the whole truth. Across the sea, Mycenaean Greece was suffering its own quiet catastrophe as palace after palace was mysteriously burned completely to the ground. Pylos, Mycenae and Tiryns, once glittering centers of art and power, were reduced to blackened ruins within only a few violent, chaotic decades. The elegant writing system used by Greek scribes disappeared entirely, and Greece plunged into centuries of illiteracy and deep, lasting silence. This period would later be called a Dark Age, when even the memory of great kings survived only as fading myth and half-forgotten ancient song. The heroes of Homer's epics, Agamemnon and his golden Mycenae, were in truth distant echoes of a civilization that was already lost to time. What had taken centuries to build was undone in a single generation, proof of just how fragile even the mightiest empires can truly become. Only Egypt, ancient and remarkably resilient, managed to survive the onslaught, though even the pharaohs paid an enormous, lasting price for it. Pharaoh Ramesses III fought fierce battles against the Sea Peoples, recording his desperate victories permanently in stone on temple walls. His inscriptions describe a world engulfed in chaos, declaring that no land could stand before the invaders, yet somehow Egypt barely held on. But victory came at a staggering cost, and the wounded kingdom that survived was only a pale shadow of the golden empire it had once truly been. Egypt's power slowly faded in the centuries that followed, its influence steadily shrinking as the wider Bronze Age world crumbled around it. Even the strongest civilization on Earth could not escape the storm entirely unscathed, forever changed by disasters far beyond anyone's control. When the smoke finally cleared, the interconnected world of the Bronze Age was simply gone, replaced by isolation, poverty, and deep silence. International trade collapsed completely. Writing vanished across entire regions, and populations shrank as once great cities crumbled into dust. For nearly 3 centuries, humanity across this region slipped backward, forgetting skills and knowledge that had taken generations to build. Yet from these very ashes, something new would eventually rise, as scattered survivors slowly rebuilt their world using iron instead of bronze. Out of total collapse came transformation, and the world that emerged afterward would look nothing like the one that had been lost forever. The Bronze Age collapse remains one of history's greatest warnings, proof that even the mightiest civilizations can fall apart in an instant. Climate change, war, famine, and fragile trade networks combined into a perfect storm, one eerily similar to challenges our world faces today. If this journey through history's darkest mystery fascinated you, make sure to subscribe, because many more forgotten stories are coming soon. Tell us in the comments which lost civilization we should explore next, because history never truly disappears, it simply waits to be found again.